Today we are concluding chapter 32 of Tanya, this journey that we've been on of truly loving our fellow. And what I think is so beautiful is that in this year, in a leap year, Chitas, the schedule of learning Tanya, this chapter is being incredibly spread out amongst many days. And really the idea of a leap year is the idea of tshuva, meaning we're missing a month, right? We've gone so far off track that we need an extra month in order to catch up so we can be in the right cycle of life. That's tshuva. I've gone so far that I need something great to really bring me back to wholeness, to bring me back to my real true cycle, my real true flow of life. And so the way we learn Tanya in a leap year is unique. It's in a way of tshuva. It's like we suddenly just get what we need, meaning one chapter could be all at once. Or it's like in this case, really the tshuva of this year, the returning of this year, the way we're learning Tanya is that we need an entire, almost a week of learning Tanya that's just totally dedicated to loving my fellow, which I think is so beautiful. I mean, we could have done this whole contemplation, meditation, this whole chapter in one day, but really what we're doing it is over several days to really drive in this space and be living with this energy of loving our fellow. And I think it's beautiful that, like, specifically in this leap year, we have this opportunity to really dive into this consciousness, because when we're learning the Tanya, it's the exact Tanya that's meant for that day to really bring us into the godly flow that we need to be in for that day. So what about the case where the person is my associate? They are my equal in Torah and mitzvahs. And now I have rebuked them. And you know what? They were doing that sin intentionally. So now do I have this mitzvah to hate them in my heart? Yeah, I do have this mitzvah, not to hate them in my heart. I have this mitzvah to hold contempt, but I also have a mitzvah to love them too. Nothing is so one-sided. We are really open to paradoxes when it comes to Judaism, because God's wisdom is beyond all paradox. God is the creator of paradox. He's beyond it all. Okay, so yes, I have this obligation to show contempt, but I also have this mitzvah to love them too. Mind meld, I'm sorry, Judaism. How do you want me to have two contradictory emotions at the same time? How is this of contempt and love going on at the same time? How is it even possible? Both emotions are valid. I have contempt because of the evil in them, which is dominating them and causing this person to go away from what's God's will. And I have love for the beauty of the divine spark within this person that's energizing them. I can hold both truths at the same time, which really comes down to the idea of hate the sin, love the person, right? I don't appreciate that action, but I can still deeply love that person because I am not my actions. As one of the most beautiful foundations of Tanya, thought, speech, and actions are garments of the soul. And yes, they affect the core of the soul, but at the end of the day, they are not the soul. And so I'm not my actions, I'm not my thoughts, I'm not my speech, and I'm not my actions. And therefore, neither is anyone else. So yes, I cannot like or I can hate even their thought, speech, and action, but that doesn't mean I hate the person. I can still love the divine spark within them. So the Tanya now brings in a third emotion, which is going to ease the paradox, is going to bring everything together, and that is compassion. Through compassion, the two contradictory emotions of love and contempt can be reconciled. You can arouse compassion in your heart for that person's divine soul, which is in a state of exile, right? It's being really suffocated by sitra achra, by ego, by the side of otherness, is putting this person in a state of actively distancing themselves from their source, which of course is a painful experience for the soul. And so I'm having compassion on their soul. I'm no longer in this place of judgment. I'm with them. I'm with you in your pain. I'm with them in the soul's pain. I'm having compassion on that person. And we have a verse that's connected to this. It says that Yaakov redeemed Avraham, okay, from Isaiah. Yaakov padas as Avraham. So Yaakov represents, our father Jacob, represents the idea of compassion. And Avraham, our father, represents the idea of love. So how do we redeem love? Is through Yaakov, through compassion. When my love is blocked, right? My love is being blocked by my contempt for this person's sin. How can I really embrace that person fully? Through compassion. It's through that compassion on their divine soul. We have compassion, we need to have compassion on our own soul when we're not allowing our soul to be fully expressed. That compassion is going to redeem that love, and ultimately love is going to triumph. When King David of blessed memory said, "With utter hatred do I hate them," Psalms 139, it's getting heated. He's referring only to the extreme case of a highly educated heretics. Right? If someone's like, "Oh, I'm a heretic," who do you think you are to call yourself a heretic? Right? No, you're not even on that level of a heretic. To be a true heretic, you have to actually know Torah through and through. And you just read a little Reader's Digest and you're like, I don't like Torah. Not a heretic, you're just uneducated, It's to really go against something, you have to really know what you're talking about. Yeah, and we actually see throughout history, our greatest enemies, Haman was completely versed in in Torah as well was Hitler. They understood Jewish consciousness. They understood exactly the evil that they were doing. People like to pass them off as ignorant people. They weren't. They understood what they were doing, which made what they were doing all the more so just like true evil. Okay? And so what we're saying here is that if someone's actually a heretic, meaning they're highly educated, they know exactly what a sin does spiritually, and they know the spiritual effects on themselves and on the Jewish people, and yet they're not following the Torah way, and they're actually posing a threat to traditional Judaism, right? So they have shed any manifest connection to Judaism and have no portion in the God of Israel, right? So we're talking about a very extraordinary extreme case, and no, people in this day and age, we have trauma, okay? If we're like, know what we're doing and we're going against Torah, it's because we're dealing with trauma. We don't have, like, have you ever met someone who's in our generation who's just like, who's completely evil and emotionally healthy? No, because the reason people are being evil is because they're not emotionally healthy, right? Back in the day, you had like a good old bad guy. We don't even have that anymore because that person has trauma and they have this and they have that. We're not saying it justifies it. We're just saying we can understand. Here in this case of King David, he's talking about someone who actually knows what they're doing. They're actively going against Torah in the truest way, and therefore uses the word hate. Okay? But the Tanya stresses that this hatred is something which King David said. Why does it want us to know that King David said this? Because it's not something you should be practicing. Don't practice this at home, kids, okay? When expressing righteous indignation for another person's actions, even though you appear to be taking the moral high ground, how do you know that you're not acting out of an impure motive, right? Hate is very extreme. We're saying this was an extreme case between King David, who obviously knew what he was doing, and other people knew what they were doing. That's when hate was being used. So this is not for us to play with. This is like playing with fire. You may also have erred in judgment about your friend's hearsay, right? I mean, how do I really know the facts? It could be that I missed up the facts. It could be I thought I rebuked them, or it could be I didn't understand their intentions, which may in fact be nothing more than a benign short-sightedness. In fact, if you act with contempt towards another person, you're wrong in judgment, then you've judged someone unfavorably, right? Then you've done the sin of losina, of not hating your fellow. But if you had lovingly, like, loved someone by accident when really they deserved rebuke, okay, so you love too much, right? So, if I hate, I might be making a huge mistake. But if I love, for sure I'm fulfilling this mitzvah, ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. So we have to always err on the safe side of love. And so this is really just a beautiful way of that Tanya's ending things off here in this chapter is, leave the hate for the extreme scenarios. And even if in those extreme scenarios, realize that there could be a piece of the puzzle that I'm missing, and therefore always err on the side of caution and remain in place of love. It's also, what kind of state do I want to be in? Do I want to be in a state of hatred, or do I want to be in a state of love? And remembering that if that love is blocked through compassion for that person, through like really seeing their soul and really seeing their potential and being in pain, like, wow, like things are being stopped right now, I can actually have compassion on that person, which is going to bring forth that love. Thank you for taking the time to use the Tanya as a tool to really be working on ourselves and expressing love in a deeper, higher, more truer way. Thanks for your time.